I've not done a behind the scenes episode for quite a while. Hello, my name is Alex Does F1 Stuff and welcome back to my face, and today it is a slightly different video, so hopefully I should have uploaded a video about unpicking AWS's insights into the fastest Formula 1 driver of all time when they released that slightly controversial decision to definitively say who was the fastest F1 driver. Today, I'm going to try and unpick that. So I've received lots of questions on Twitter and in my YouTube comments as well for particular videos about how I go about creating my statistics, where I get them from, do I source them from somebody else, do I create them, etc, etc, etc. So this video is specifically here to go about the creation process. I create absolutely everything from scratch. From a blank Excel sheet, from the raw data that's just available on the internet, I just grab all of that, pull it into Excel, create loads of graphs, animate those, then record it and upload it. And this video is going to take you through the entire process from the blank spreadsheet to the end product of the video. So if we just go to my Excel spreadsheet now, which is currently blank. I haven't even saved it, it's just saved as book 1 at the moment, sheet number 1. This is where everything starts, a completely blank spreadsheet. Now, if I pull up Google as well, just to see what we're looking at, this is the table that F1 produced of their driver ranking so far. Ayrton Senna declared as the fastest, from Michael Schumacher, just over a tenth slower, then Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen very close together, then Fernando Alonso in P5. So for starters, because I don't know how long this is going to take, it is currently the 20th of October, so I don't know when this video is going to come out at some point. I've just taken the top 5 due to time restraints. I may look at Heikki Kovalainen and Jarno Trulli as they seem to be the strange ones in this list, but I will do the top 5 for the moment. What I'm aiming to do, as they have said somewhere in here, it is a unique tool that uses machine learning to provide an objective, data-driven rankings of all the drivers from 1983, which is fine, all of those drivers started after 1983, by removing the car differential from the equation. Ranked by qualifying speed, the fastest laps, where did it? Here we go. The algorithm effectively normalizes the car and the team's performance, and builds up a picture to compare the different generations by analysing purest indication of raw speed, the qualifying lap. So what I need to do from that article is create different tables for the top 5. We're going to just look at the top 5 for the moment because I genuinely have no idea how long this is going to take. Then I need to go through all of the qualifying sessions, group them into the teammates as well, because it said something about linking with teammates to find out an advantage to do with teammates, so I need to do that as well. Then I can find the raw gap just overall that they had in a qualifying advantage or behind, because they're not always in front and things like that. So we're going to start with Senna, 1984 to 1994. And I think I'm going to do it in a bit of a time-lapse for you. So that's taken just a little bit longer than I'd have liked. I think it was 41 minutes worth of time-lapse footage to produce Senna's table. So it is all nice and colourful, as I've colour-coded each teammate. So we've got Cecotto, never heard of him, in the Tolman years of 1984, and then Johansson as well, just in the last 2 races. He didn't actually compete in these rounds, or at least I couldn't find him. So I guess he wasn't there. Tolman seemed to be going through some odd patches in there. Then we've got De Angelis in 1985 in the Lotus. We've got Dumfries in the Lotus as well in 86. Then 87 we have Nakajima also in the Lotus. Then we have the Prost years. Then we've got the Berger years in green. Then 1993 we've got Michael Andretti. And then in the last 3 rounds we actually have Hakkinen pop up. And then Hill for the first 3 rounds of 94. So things left on my to-do list is just to work out the average advantage in front that he had against all of these teammates. He did go on a massive spring of constantly out-qualifying his teammate by over like 2 seconds, over 1 second, right up until round 15 of 1987, where it was just under a tenth or under a second. It was absolutely crazy. But I believe Prost and Berger definitely gave him the most, gave him a decent run for his money. But I need to work all of that out. Then the article goes on to say stuff about linking teammates and interlinking them, so I may have to do a layer, maybe 2, depending on the timing that I have to do this, but I'll have to do that once I come up with the list of the other drivers. But that is it for today. I'm going to take a break and then maybe move on to Hamilton a little bit, or whoever's next, Schumacher, a little bit later on. Oh god, that one's going to take forever. That's 1992 to 2006, and then 2010 to 20... Oh my god. That's going to take me over an hour. Ah well, join me then. It's all part of the fun. Okie dokie, there is Schumacher all done and dusted. Now, oh Jesus Christ, this bloody spreadsheet's a mess, isn't it? Just like my hair. I don't know what my hair is doing today. Doesn't matter. So yes, spreadsheet done. Well, I say done. Done up until Schumacher. It's taking a while, actually, to fill in all of this data. It's getting there. It is getting there. So I've just got Hamilton, Alonso, and who's the other? One, I can't remember. I've got a list of the top 5. It's definitely Hamilton and Alonso, and I can't remember the other one. But basically, it is an absolute mess, this spreadsheet. There's just numbers and calculations everywhere. But at the moment, Senna is the better qualifier. Now, I have no idea how AWS have gone about getting... So they have the table. I'll pop it hopefully there somewhere. And you've got Senna at the top. Then you've got Schumacher with a gap of just over a tenth. Then you have Hamilton with a gap of just under 3/10. Then you've got Alonso and other people lower down. I don't know how they're getting those gaps. That's what I need to try and work out. Also, if I head back to the spreadsheet, oh god, it's so ugly. If I just open up this, oh, here's what it is. Verstappen. Verstappen is up there. Senna, Schumacher, Hamilton, Verstappen, Alonso. I just worked out their teammates that they had throughout their years, and then highlighted any duplicate values. So in the AWS explanation video, they said they created a teammate web thing, and they showed a animation of all the teammates interlinking, and if you were faster than this person and then another champion was faster than that same person by a larger margin, if that makes sense. So for example, Alonso and Massa were teammates, so was Schumacher and Massa as well. So if Schumacher and Massa, or if Schumacher had a larger advantage over Massa than Alonso did, then surely Schumacher is better than Alonso. But then how do I factor it in if Alonso actually ends up having a larger advantage than Schumacher? I don't know. So that's what I tried to work out, just are there actually any connections that I can make? Their web goes ludicrously deep, it's all interconnected, and I just don't I don't have that time, because it's taken me 2 days, 3 days or something like that into this project, and all I've got is this. I've posted some pictures on Twitter. Again, I'll just pop them to the side of me. I've posted some pictures on Twitter of just some updates of the graphs and things comparing Senna versus Schumacher, which is quite interesting. Now I need to do Hamilton, which again, it's going to take a while because it's another 300 plus races that I've got to go through. Verstappen, that's not going to take too long as there aren't so many races. But Alonso, I'm not looking forward to that one because that's, God knows how many races that is. That's quite a bit. But yes, all is moving forwards very steadily and I'm making decent progress, so let's hop back into another nice little time lapse of filling in Hamilton, Verstappen and Alonso. Okie dokie, there we go. Fernando Alonso's times are all fulfilled. Now, the more I have done on this project, the more I've realised that it's not going to quite line up exactly how I wanted it to. I'm going to have to change it slightly, as the more numbers I've put in, the more I've realised I am nowhere close to what AWS has actually done, and I'm simply not a machine learning algorithm to produce all these numbers. I'm just one bloke with an Excel spreadsheet in front of me. But anyways, I have done the basic stuff, excluding outlier races, etc., like the ones in the rain. But if I just take you to the Excel page, there are just so many different numbers, and they're all primarily from their fastest individual times. So in the actual explanation video that AWS popped out, they said that they took the times from every single session. So from each Q1 session, each Q2 session, each Q3 session for each round in every year. Now that's a lot of data, which means each of these is going to be 3 times as long. The research is going to take 3 times as long, and that's time I don't have. So that's something I've had to rule out. But what I have done is I've just made this little compare tab on the side and just lined up everyone's orders at the moment. They're in no particular order. I've just put their teammates in the largest gap that they had to them in descending order. And then this little bit here is the like the web. So they created a little web, an interconnecting multi-layer web of teammate connections. Now I've only done one layer of this because, again, I don't have the time to find out all sorts of interconnecting webs between these 5. So Massa was teammates to both Alonso and Schumacher, with Schumacher having the greater advantage than Alonso over Massa. Button was teammates to Hamilton and Alonso, with Hamilton having the greater advantage by 0.2. And then Rosberg was teammates to Schumacher and Hamilton, with Schumacher by far and away having the largest advantage. So that's something that's going to have to go into effect. But now I've got to start thinking of how exactly I'm going to portray all of this data, and I have a rough idea. So the main way I'm thinking is just by listing the average advantage whenever in front of their teammate, whenever they were in front of their teammate, and just listing them like that. But then saying that I've got times that when they were behind their teammate, etc., and have like 2 different graphs, if that makes sense. I'll have to start piecing it together and then show you guys what it looks like. But I've got a rough sort of idea in my head. Now I've got to start planning it. Right, so it's a little bit later, about half an hour-ish later, and I've just made a couple graphs up for Senna in particular, popped them into a little PowerPoint, Bear in mind, it's not animated, it's not anything like that. I haven't bothered time-lapsing it, I just popped on the radio and just listened to some music and got on with it. So, here is what I have so far. Unpicking the AWS machine I spelt learning wrong, but that's okay. So, if I just pull up the little animation, we'll present this slide first, maybe. Which basically explains each average so far ahead of all of their teammates in all of their seasons. So this is just the average in front. So this isn't their overall average, including times when they were behind. This is just their average when they were in front. We've got Senna out front, then Schumacher, Alonso, Verstappen, Hamilton, which is slightly different to how AWS had it. But then I'm going to sort of explain the teammate breakdown for Senna first. Senna is the number one here. So each of these graphs is going to pop up separately. So we've got the Senna's teammate advantage whenever he was in front. So then he was in front of Nakajima on average by 3.8 seconds, 3.4 for Dumfries, all the way down to just under 4/10 for Hakkinen. And then I'm going to say, as opposed to when he was behind his teammates. So whenever he was behind, De Angelis had the bigger advantage, all the way down to Hakkinen only having half a tenth advantage. Which then leads me on to this graph, which looks very similar to the first one, but this is taking into account the times that he was behind. So this is including every single qualifying time made into this average, which pops Nakajima still at the front, 3.8 seconds, as Nakajima never outqualified Senna. Then we've got Dumfries, Cecotto, Andretti, De Angelis, Johansson, Hill, Prost, Berger and Hakkinen, with the final graph comparing the two averages. So the first average, this 1.619, I need to swap these two bars over, was the average whenever he was in front, and then the 1.4 is the average whenever he was in front and behind. So that was a little quick rundown of how roughly it's going to be presented. I now need to do this with everybody, and then add some colours, add some animations, and possibly add something else in. It's not worked. It's not worked in the slightest. I then need to decide what I'm doing with the teammate web things, how that's going to come into it, but basically, I'm nowhere close. Nowhere close. I wasn't really expecting to be close, but yeah, I'm miles away from how they got it. But yes, it's coming along nicely. Need to make a bit more progress. So I've been just playing around a little bit with how exactly I want to run this episode in my head. Ideally, I should have time-lapsed it, but I didn't. I'm not 100% sure why. I've added some colours to the graphs, so exactly the same graphs that you've just seen. In the same format, I've just added a little bit of colour to it. So it looks a little bit like this. I've adjusted the title, as I spelt learning wrong in the last little bit. But you'll be presented with the top 5 so far, as I'm only going to look at the top 5. And maybe if it's requested, I'll have a look at the outliery results, like Kovalainen and Trulli. But just for the moment, we're covering the top 5. So you'll be presented with this graph first, and then I'll say, well, this is everything when they're ahead of their teammates. So let's take a look at Senna and break him down and see if we can put it down further. So then you'll have this graph, which I'll then pull up the times that he was in front of his teammate, the averages, and it's all nicely animated. And then I'll say, well, he was sometimes behind his teammates, so let's have a look at what that would look like. And these are the times when he was behind his teammates. Then I'm going to smush them all together and create this. So this is the times of just the overall average, so not just looking at the times he was in front or the times that he was behind as independent factors. I'm looking at the whole season when they were teammates as one factor. And the red is if it's decreased and the green is if it stayed the same. Quite simple so far, hopefully, if you guys are following. I'm not sure if you are, because sometimes my head just goes, let's go wander off into all bajillion millions of directions and hope for the best. Anyway, next graph that will pop up is then the average in front, which was the first one that you saw, versus their overall average, taking into account the times that they were behind their teammate as well, which you can see it has dropped, which is what we're aiming for. And then I'm going to apply this same thing to every single driver, and then we'll see where we're at with that point. Now that is the progress that I've made so far. I just need to apply what I've done to Senna to all the other drivers, and then all should be good, and I should be ready to record, because I don't think there's anything else I can do, primarily because I don't know how to do it. Honestly, this has been a hell of a lot of fun, and I have really enjoyed this episode. But yes, I've just got to make this all up for everybody else, then record it, and then edit it. Okie dokie, so the PowerPoint animations are all done and dusted, and I'm fairly sure I'm all set for recording. Now, if I just take you to it, I think everything is done. I've been umming and ahhing about what I want to do in terms of the, like the teammate web thing. So AWS did put out the video explanation of the interconnecting webs, but I just don't see how I can mush it all together, how I can create independent values for it. So if I bring up the Excel page a second. Now, it is an atrocious mess, this Excel page. There's just graphs and values everywhere, but the ones we are after are here. So I'll just copy them into a new blank sheet here. So the only ones that we've got so far for just one layer deep is Massa was teammates to Alonso and Schumacher, Button was teammates to Hamilton and Alonso, and Rosberg was teammates to Schumacher and Hamilton. Which in itself, I can create a stringy, twiddly-widdly loop web thing, but I just have no clue how to put it all together and how to make it into a value. So ultimately, Schumacher was half a tenth faster than Alonso was against Massa. Alonso was 2/10 faster, or no, Hamilton was 2/10 faster than Alonso against Button. And then Schumacher was almost 4/10 faster than Rosberg against. It gets so confusing so quickly, and I just don't know what to do with the values. I've tried my best to squidge it in somehow, but I just can't. I have no idea how to do it. So I think what I'm going to have to do instead is just exclude that and look primarily at the average gaps, which I know isn't exactly how AWS has done it, but it is an attempting to unpick. It's not a directly, here is exactly how they've done it kind of unpick, as I don't even have the right order after just looking at their averages excluding rainy races. We've got Senna a second quicker than Schumacher, who's 2/10 quicker than Alonso, with Verstappen and Hamilton at the bottom, which isn't even the correct order in the first place. The correct order was Senna, Schumacher, Hamilton, Alonso, Verstappen, or something like that. So it hasn't worked. It was a lot of fun, and I'm about to record it, but yeah, it's not worked in the slightest. But I suppose that's part and parcel of the whole project and the whole time putting into it. It's just a lot of fun to just do it. That's literally all it is. It's just a whole lot of fun, and I really do enjoy these types of projects. Just as long as people don't take them super uber seriously, when you get people saying, but it's absolutely pointless statistics, and what's the point? It's exactly, what's the point? There isn't one, but it's so much fun to me to create, and some people do like them and actually treat them like just fun. Just that's all it is. It's just like a piece of fun creating these stats to effectively show nothing. Anyway, I have given some thought into actually creating this into my new long extended project. So before I had my qualifying time end video, which was my long massive project, I'm now thinking of putting this as my super long extended project, and how the AWS thing included every single qualifying lap. That is now what I want to try and look at and see if I can change these values. Because these values that I've used in this video coming up are just the fastest time, basically, of each driver, not looking at independent sessions. So I want to see if it changes looking at independent sessions. So I think I'm going to try and do something along those lines and see how that works. But anyway, plan. Now, as I've just rambled on for a little bit, I'm going to record the episode, and then I should be able to edit it today, and then it will come out later. I'm extremely busy over the next couple of days. I've only got this spare hour and a bit left anyway to squidge in some video stuff. So yes, plan, record, edit, then it should all be good. Presto prego, just like that, we have an episode. Only took me 45 minutes of editing, which is a little bit on the shorter side, to be honest. I was expecting it to be like just over an hour, but I suppose that is a decent amount of time for myself, and now I can concentrate on uni work. But yes, all done and dusted. 11 minutes 23 seconds worth of footage for hopefully a fun and interesting episode. And I suppose that is now the end of this behind the scenes video. If you have enjoyed, please let me know down in the comments below, and I will catch you in the next episode with whatever and whenever I decide to make it. I'll see you guys then.